February 26th of the Ames Transit Agency Board of Trustees. First item is approval of minutes. We have a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We had an error.
We hadn't.
I'll turn the meeting over to you now, and we're ready to start on item number 3, the gray route.
Thank you. I apologize for being late. This is one of those days. There are too many places to be at once. Item 3 is a gray route discussion. Bob, do you want to outline that issue for us?
Tom, would you put they have the map up here on the screen. The gray route currently runs on from the mall, runs over Grand, then Bloomington, then down Hoover for a short block, and then Buchanan, Eisenhower, and then 24th Street, and then into campus. Next year, we've already approved 7 trips operating on Bloomington all the way over to Stang, and then south on Stang into campus. That section, the Eisenhower-Bloomington section, used to be the way the Blue Route got to the mall, and several years ago we moved the Blue Route over to 24th and Northwestern, as you can see on the map. We kept 2 morning trips and 2 afternoon trips in addition to the full Blue Route schedule on that segment. So anyone riding the Blue Route, there's a bus every 20 minutes or 30 minutes depending on the scheduled interval, and these were 2 extra trips. These trips cost about $4,500 a year for that incremental section, basically from Schilletter Village to the mall. So the choices are to go with what's already approved, which is the 7 trips a day on the new gray, which is Bloomington and Stang, or you can have 8 trips a day if we remove the service off of Bloomington and Eisenhower and Buchanan. The money that it costs to send the bus up there, essentially there'll be 2 buses leaving the mall at the same time. One will go all the way on Bloomington to Stang, and the other will go on Eisenhower and Buchanan as we have it proposed. So we could save enough money to add an 8th trip on that Eisenhower Buchanan, on the Bloomington Stang route. So that's the choice. The ridership is very low. The table shows there's essentially about 14 trips a day. Several people make a round trip on it. You got some email there in your packet from a couple of the riders that are regulars. And then there are several people who ride only 2 or 3 days a week, and some ride only morning, some ride only afternoon. So the total number of people involved is probably 16 or 17 passengers. Now on a snow day, we'll get about 20 passengers on each trip, so people are driving, and then when it snows, they'll ride the route, but you can't run a route for 4 days a year. So those are the choices. Is you can keep it as is, or you can get an extra trip out of where we want to move the bus. In terms of our route spacing, it makes more sense in the long term to put the resources on Bloomington and Stang. That would give us a consistent spacing of the routes. The couple of people that did send the mail get on near Monroe there in Cleveland, and they would have the longest walk. There are a couple people that get on Buchanan. They just have to walk 1 block north up to Bloomington. We can just do this one more time. Maybe Tom can just show it to the people at home. Now we're on TV, and maybe it's easier if we can follow it. So right now, the route up Eisenhower, that's twice. We're talking about losing it for twice a day only, right?
It runs 2 times in the morning and 2 times in the afternoon.
Can you show that route so everybody will see that?
Currently, it goes across Bloomington, down Hoover, across Buchanan, and down Eisenhower to 24th.
Right, only 2 times. And the blue route, or that route there is?
That's full service, that, yeah.
It runs every 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. And then the route that's going to replace it, the Bloomington route,
Yeah.
how will that run, just so people can see that too?
That'll run sometimes daily, every hour from the mall.
The 8 runs we're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, well, 7 currently and possibly 8.
Yeah,
right?
how will that work?
it'll go from the wall up to Bloomington, across Bloomington over to Stang, and Stang Road straight into campus.
And then
In the morning, then coming back, come straight up Stang to Bloomington, across to Grand.
So
back
the
to-
walking distance, I mean, it seems to me that as from a policy point of view, as we continue to try and provide service, we need to look at where we provide accessibility to the most riders and users in the longer term, and that as the community characteristics and housing developments change, we need to be prepared to make some changes in our routes to reflect demand in those areas. So I'm not sure we have an obligation or can afford to continue to always run all these routes in every place we've always been, given the change. I guess the other, I mean, I can see this helping the commuters, the regular riders, but it seems to me when you run certain routes only certain times of the day, that's more difficult for non-regular people to know what you're really doing. I personally think we're better off with more frequent service on sort of our main route systems than these, but I don't know. I'm open to it.
Well, we tried to move our system to an arterial system, which creates the spacing Bob's talking about. I think Eisenhower is considered a collector, but it's not an arterial, so it's somewhat of a higher level of service if we go through the collector, versus staying on the spacing of an arterial.
I mean, the other thing is, I guess, till the development in Somerset and some of that actually is completed, the ridership from these areas will grow over a period of time, I would expect, as the housing units are established. And in this first year, I assume we may not have, I don't know how many units will actually be up there occupied. I assume it won't be a large number. I don't know where they are in their actual real development project.
But there's some, but there won't be a large number of people there.
Well, I'd move the director's recommendation. I think it's to eliminate it as of May, is that what it is, Bob?
Right.
There's been a motion. Is there a second to the
I'll
motion?
second that motion.
There's a motion on the floor to accept the director's recommendation to eliminate the service at the end of the school year in May. Is there any further discussion?
Oh, with that, I guess my amendment says we're reallocating the money for an 8th trip. Is that what we're doing?
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.